Today I'm sharing my picks for the best endurance road bikes you can buy in 2026. These are bikes designed for long days in the saddle, big miles and real world riding. But that doesn't mean they're slow. Modern endurance bikes are lighter, stiffer and faster than ever before, while offering more comfort, bigger tire clearance and better geometry for most riders. And I've ridden every bike in today's video. All the reviews are linked down below. You can see those in more detail. So I'm not just repeating marketing claims or spec details. Actual, honest, unbiased, genuine thoughts on how your bikes ride, the ride quality, that really matters. So let's get stuck in. But the first bike, in no particular order, is the giant Defy. The Defy makes my list for a number of reasons. Firstly, the value for money is extremely good. There are 3 levels to choose from, and prices in the UK start from about £2,000, so a bike for most budgets, and they're well spec'd across a range too. The pick for me personally is a Pro in the middle of the range, a bike I reviewed last year that's linked above in case you missed it. The Defy is also one of the racier endurance road bikes. Endurance road bikes are generally more upright and shorter than a race bike to make them more relaxing and easier and more accommodating with a wider range of people who aren't actually racing. But the Defy is definitely a racier, sportier endurance road bike. And if you're coming from a race bike, it's a bike you feel more at home on, a nice aggressive position compared to a more upright bike like a Specialized Roubaix SL8 for example. So you want that sort of racy fit, but a bit more dialed back, the Defy is a good choice. Comfort is pretty good, not the smoothest in the world, but they make good use of carefully shaped carbon stays, the handlebar, the seat post to give a reasonable amount of compliance, and tire clearance is only up to 38, so not as wide as other bikes in today's video, but probably wide enough for most people buying a bike like this. And there are mudguard mounts, but actually a lot in terms of versatility. It's just a really clean, simple, understated endurance road bike. Doesn't make much fuss, but doesn't need to. It rides really well, and it's fast, it's light and stiff, and as racy as it gets for an endurance road bike. So an easy bike to recommend in 2026. The Specialized Roubaix SL8 is one of the bikes I recommend if you want maximum comfort, because it's still one of the smoothest riding bikes in this category. For a start, there's space for up to 40mm wide tyres. You can fit a light gravel tyre if you want, something I've done in the past in a video linked above in case you haven't seen that. And it does do sort of light gravel and dirt quite well, but you fit a nice fat slick on there and it'll conquer all roads. Definitely bordering into that sort of all-road category if you want. But then the real USP of the Roubaix, the reason it's so smooth and comfortable on rough roads, is the Future Shock, the spring underneath the stem that isolates the handlebar and therefore your upper body from all the bumps and cracks and stuff in the road trying to ruin your day. That's matched reasonably well by a seat post that flex a lot more compared to the tarmac race bike, for example, and it's a very balanced bike. The front end is smooth, the back end is smooth, and it lets you just float over the roughest roads with supreme confidence and grace and ease. So a very comfortable ride. The geometry is quite laid back, more so than that Defy I mentioned just now. The handlebars are very high thanks to that Future Shock, so the position on a bike is very relaxing and very accessible as well. But a note of caution, that Future Shock inside the head tube does add weight compared to simpler designs like a giant Defy, for example, and does add possible reliability concerns that some owners have reported around that failing during the lifetime of the bike. So that is something to possibly be concerned about. If it is a concern, it might move you to a different platform, but Specialized do have good after-sales service, so that might look after you in terms of that doubt about that component on the bike. And of course, the value for money isn't as good as a giant either. You generally get low spec wheels than you should compared to what other bike brands offer at a similar price point. But if you look past those small gremlins, it's a fantastically smooth, comfortable bike for the roughest, toughest, longest days in the saddle. The Fairlight cycle Strael proves you don't need a carbon fibre frame for a smooth ride. And this is one of the nicest, most elegant, lightest steel frames you can probably buy on the market right now. It's a fantastically modern steel road bike, a Reynolds 853 tube set with amazing attention to detail, the way they curved the rear stay to maximize tire clearance, which is now up to 39mm, so roughly in line with average endurance bikes in today's video. 40mm is sort of the benchmark for an endurance road bike these days. So yeah, good tire clearance, and there are loads of mounts for fitting mudguards or fenders if you prefer, if you're watching in the US. And it's definitely a more versatile bike than some of the carbon racier bikes in this video. So a good pick for audax, touring, long distance road-based bike packing riding, and a bike that's as smooth as the best carbon bikes in today's video. Yes, it's heavier than most of the carbon bikes, but if you're choosing a bike for comfort and long distance, weight isn't probably at the top of your priority compared to if you're buying a race bike. And the smoothness, the elegance, and the ride quality will probably win you over, will definitely win you over if you have any weight concerns for that choice. The other cool detail about buying a Fairlight cycle Strael is the geometry. There are 2 stack heights for each size, their proportional geometry as they call it, which is something that more bike brands should offer. So buy a 56, which I ride, I can have a regular, so low head tube, or a tall, higher head tube. So you want a taller front end, you can do that without a big stack of spaces. So a very sensible approach to offering a wider range of fit options for people buying this bike. And the price is pretty competitive with mainstream carbon offerings in this category as well. And you can customize the build to your requirements and desires as well. And every bike is assembled by hand in their London workshop. And I've been there and seen it firsthand, and it's very impressive indeed. And that video tour is linked above in case you haven't seen it. Today's video isn't sponsored by any of the bike brands because it's actually sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes building a website for any purpose, personal or business, quick and easy. And the Squarespace platform will hold your hand through the entire process of building a new website. You can either start with a template and customize that with a drag and drop interface, changing the colors, adding your logo and plugins for a newsletter, online courses, or e-commerce for selling products and digital services, or use AI and answer a few easy questions, and a bespoke website is built just for you. So it really is super easy and quick and affordable. And with my 10% discount code on screen right now, using the link down below in the description of today's video, it's even cheaper as well. So what are you waiting for? Upgrade your website this year with Squarespace. The Enve Fray is a bike to choose if you're feeling very flush, because it's far from the cheapest or best value bike in this category or today's video. But my goodness me, is it a sublime ride. It is fantastically smooth, great handling, poised through the corners, plenty of get up and go when you're riding fast, and it looks amazing as well. And there are loads of cool details on it as well. So wide tire clearance up to 40mm, in-frame storage, which I personally really like. Quite a few endurance road bikes now have that feature. First seen on mountain bikes, and then gravel bikes, and now endurance road bikes. And when I've ridden the Fray on 3 occasions, twice in California in different years, and in Belgium with Tour of Flanders. And having that in-frame storage when you're riding in grotty Belgian conditions is a great place to store your spare parts out of the elements. So rather than that saddlebag and covered in grit, when you need it, your hands are just cold and it's just, oh, it's horrible. There's mudguard, fender mounts as well. You've got the top tube mounts for a bag, and you've got aerodynamics too. Some people think that endurance road bikes are slow, but Enve say the Fray only gives away about 4.5 watts to their melee race bike, which maybe suggests their melee isn't as aero as it could be, but also shows how close the Fray is to that bike. And the main reason it's probably less aero is a higher stack, that taller head tube, creating more frontal surface area. So a bike that definitely isn't slow compared to the company's own race bike. And yeah, it's a bike that's fast, they're very smooth, there's no gimmicks for comfort, apart from the clever carbon fiber layout and a nice seat post extension. So a bike that's smooth, easy to handle. Yeah, a bike that does live up to the expectations set by the high price tag on it, and a wide range of colours to choose from. But for me, it's the Venom Green that I would choose if I'm feeling flush and able to buy the Fray. The Trek Domane has long been a very popular endurance road bike for good reason. Offers fantastic comfort, got space of wide tyres, you've got down tube, in-frame storage, mudguard mounts, a wide range of builds and prices to choose from, and Trek generally offers pretty good value for money and a wide network of dealers and bike shops to buy the bike from, and you can customize the bike through the Project One if you're feeling very flush as well. And even a low-end build that I recently tested comes in an amazing color option, and one that went down well when most people saw that video a few months ago. The Domane still relies on that unique, clever ISO-speed decoupler separating the seat post and seat tube from the main frame with a small sort of bearing and linkage design. Very complex but quite simple, being refined over 2 or 3 generations from the Fabian Cancellara days, and it still works. Comfort in the saddle is very good, but with the move to bigger tyre clearance and improvements in carbon fibre layout, what we've seen on other bikes like the Fray and the Defy, the benefit of the ISO-speed decoupler has been minimised quite a bit, and it's no longer a feature on the front of the bike as it was in the previous version. And the downside to the ISO-speed is extra weight, because more stuff going on there, so extra weight in the frame, and the bike is still a bit heavy, even though it's lighter than the old version compared to its rivals like the Defy, and possibly more reliability and complexity issues down the line as well. If you run it long term, don't know what the service life of that part is all about either. So yeah, a few small question marks there. For comfort, it's still fantastic. It still delivers really good comfort. It's a really planted bike, not the most kind of nimble, agile, fast steering. It's definitely in the sort of Roubaix S8 sort of category of quite measured, slow handling, very sure-footed, the sort of handling that most people probably want from an endurance road bike. When you're 100 miles into a sporty, you're bombing down a hill, you're tired, fatigued, you want a bike that's not going to be super twitchy and will just get you to the finish line in one piece with a smile, hopefully on your face. The Cannondale Synapse is a bike that used to feature in my regular yearly roundups of the best endurance road bikes, but with the update back in 2020, it fell off due to the Smart Sense episode saga that effectively killed that bike in the eyes of most people. But thankfully, the new version launched last year, the update, the long overdue update to that bike, does fix a lot of the issues and make some good improvements. It's now back on my list because we have really big wide tyre clearance, so bigger than most bikes in today's video, 42 millimeters. So is that a gravel bike? Is it a road bike? Definitely blurs the line between the two, but gives you more scope to fit the tyres you actually want. There's in-frame storage, there's mudguard mounts, top tube mounts as well, internal cable routing, more aerodynamics, apparently more aero, or as aero as one of the older Super 6 Evos. So yeah, the bike is not slow in the wind tunnel, and probably not slow when you're the fleshy lump on top of it, powering it along your favourite roads wherever you live. So a bike that definitely has been long overdue an update, and the update does put it back in a good place, and a bike I'm now happy to recommend once again. And Smart Sense is still a feature, but not on every bike. The bike I tested didn't have it. You can only have it on SRAM spec bikes, I believe, not Shimano bikes, and it's more optional than before. And on the bikes with Smart Sense, they've done a much better job of integrating it into the handlebars and the saddle than before. And the battery is now in the down tube, so it's much more seamless and really as it should have been in the first case. So from being one of the best endurance road bikes and one of my favorites, I ran a 2018 model for 2 years, long term, to being a dud, effectively dead, and then reborn, and it's working its way back up. And it's definitely a bike I'm now happy to recommend once again. Not quite the same league as it was, but definitely working its way back there. So that's a bike definitely worth considering, and hopefully I can ride another bike in a different specification and try Smart Sense this year as well. And my review is linked down below in case you haven't seen it yet. The Canyon Endurace is one of the racier, sportier endurance road bikes in the similar guise to the Giant Defy. So not the outright smoothest bike like the Roubaix S8 or the Trek Domane, but definitely a lightweight bike. In the builds that Canyon offers with one-piece carbon handlebars, it's almost as light and racy as the racy road bikes like the Ultimate, for example, but you still have more comfort and wide tyre clearance than one of their race bikes. But tyre clearance isn't the most generous. It's capped at 35 millimeters officially, so pretty narrow by endurance road bike standards, which does to me suggest there might be a new version in the next year, 2 years possibly. But wide enough probably for most people, running a 32, 34 maybe, and you always go a bit wider than the official recommendations. And the other downer with the Endurace is there are no mudguard fender mounts, which may not be an issue for you. So let me know your thoughts on mudguards, yes or no, on an endurance road bike. For me, I think all endurance road bikes should have mudguard mounts because you have clearance, you may as well fit them for people like me who want to use them in the winter when it's raining all the time. So yeah, no mudguards, a bit of a shame. And on the top end models, they have that sort of remote control hatch on the top tube for putting tools in, but it's pretty small as compartments go, while the lower end CFSL model, I believe, doesn't have that. So it's actually the pick of the range. Normally I recommend the top range or mid-range bikes, but here the entry level one is the one to go for, and prices start from about £1,700 in the UK. And as is always the case with Canyon, the value for money is fantastic, and in this case, better than the giant Defy I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Yeah, the Canyon Endurace isn't the best endurance road bike in terms of tire clearance and comfort, but if you don't want massive tire clearance and you don't want the smooth ride like the Roubaix offers, and you want a lightweight, sort of fast, racy endurance bike, it's still a good pick. And finally, the Cervelo Caledonia 5, which I rode in Girona last spring, I believe it was. The Caledonia has long been a very popular bike as well. Not the most popular, but definitely a good pick. It has quite a fan base. The new version has some good improvements. There are a few issues, not perfect. So the main issue with it, the main gripe for me anyway, is tire clearance is officially only a 36mm wide tire, so not as wide as our bikes in today's video. But I'm being told you can go up to 40. It does fit with reasonable amounts of clearance. I haven't tried it myself, so that's the only downer on that. If you want maximum tire clearance, I'll choose one of the other bikes in today's video, but if you're only running a 34, it'll be fine. But the rest of the bike is well designed. In-frame storage, full internal routing, an aerodynamic frame, so it's as fast as it looks. One of the faster bikes in today's video. It's a stiff bike as well, but comfort is pretty good. Not a bike that'll beat you up too much on the rougher roads. And geometry, pretty neutral as well. Definitely leans towards being a bit racier, a bit sportier than some of the other more laid-back, leisurely riding endurance road bikes. So a very engaging, fun bike to ride, and a bike that looks good as well. Just wish the tire clearance was bigger to make it easier to fit 38 or a 40mm wide tire like the Pirelli P0 that I rode last year. I was very impressed with. So yeah, the Caledonia 5 has a lot going for it if you want a very sporty, fast, lively endurance bike. Those then are 8 of the best endurance road bikes I recommend in 2026 based on actually riding the bikes, not marketing claims or spec details, actual real world experience, unbiased, genuine thoughts on these bikes. And yes, there are loads of bikes I have not featured, and that's what the comment section is for. Let me know what I've missed and what you prefer by dropping a comment down below. And there are quite a few bikes I'm excited for in this category this year, and hopefully I can ride and test them in the near future. There's the new Van Rysel EDR, there's the Pinarello Dogma X, that looks kind of cool. There's that Ribble bike, there's a Cube. I've hopefully got a Cube coming my way soon. Stay tuned for that. And Rose are back in the UK as well, so they make some good bikes. So quite a few contenders. Let me know what you'd like to see tested by dropping a comment down below. And make sure to subscribe to the channel to see more content like that on a regular basis by hitting that button right there. And if you want to see something a bit racier, then check out my recommendations for the best race bikes of the year by watching the video right up there. But that is all today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very, very soon.